Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakah Quadash, and double honors to the elder apostles of the great millstone, and to include the elder bishops on down, and Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai Brakatham, to all of you brothers out there that is sincere, pushing this troop of the hopeful elect as well as we believe that we are. And I want to just get right into this video now. First and foremost, I want to address a couple of things that I've said on this video over here that I did a while back ago, a couple of days ago. And I said that this is the way they're going to push the mark of the beast. And the thing of it is, what I really should have said once again is that this is a way that they could push it. You know, this is how it could look, rather than what we've seen it in looking like, you know. But what we do know is for certain is that these devils are crafty, and they're going to push this mark to us, and of course make it mandatory at the very end, to where it's going to be very convenient to take. And so there isn't going to be no need why you should reject it. You know what I'm saying? So that's just really where I was coming from with this video. But I just wanted to correct in saying that, because we don't know to be exact how this mark of the beast thing is going to look. But what we do know is that it's going to be an implant of such. All right, because in this video I was saying, like, this is the actual way on how they're gonna get us marked up, because I was going based off of this this article that was on the peoplesvoice.com about this epidermal electronic tattoo. So I was speaking about that and stuff, and then I was later drawn to this video as well. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to read this, and then we're gonna get to the main point of this video. So this is in the book of Sirach, chapter 5 and verse 15. Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small. So that's all I'm going to read. So we got to be wide awake that anything's possible, where it even concerns the mark of the beast, how that's going to be pushed and what it's going to look like. Because a lot of us have seen this object, which could very well be the implantable device, which could be pushed in that kind of way where it looks like a grain of rice, right? But it could also look like this too. Okay. So because of this devil being as crafty as he is, we have to be aware that this devil can push this thing in a different kind of format, you know. And from what we expect the chip to look like, it can look like this. That's all I was saying, man, in this video for the most part. But I should have basically gone with that sentiment minutes into this video anyway. Especially 24 minutes and 38 seconds in. So yeah, that's all I got to say with this, man. Now we're going to get into this topic over here. How Trump wants to supercharge surveillance in DC, and if possible nationwide. So as this reads, how Trump's DC takeover could supercharge surveillance, from the defense1.com. President Trump's declaration of a crime emergency in Washington, D.C. will further entwine the U.S. military and its equipment and technology in law enforcement matters, and perhaps expose D.C. residents and visitors to unprecedented digital surveillance, brushing aside statistics that show violent crime in D.C. at a 30-year low. Trump on Monday described a new level of coordination between D.C. National Guard units and federal law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, ICE, and the newly federalized D.C. police force. We will have full, seamless, integrated cooperation at all levels of law enforcement, and will deploy officers across the district with an overwhelming presence. You have more police, and you will be so happy because you're being safe, he said at a White House press conference. Right, and that has nothing to do with the safety of the American people. It has every little thing to do with their agenda. And what is their agenda? Is to surveillance America. First beginning with Washington, D.C., and plus he even threatened that he was going to do the same to Chicago. because of the crime over there. All right. And as he lied, he said that, yeah, we got to regulate the crime because Washington, D.C. shouldn't be a place such as however he said it. But again, crime has declined greatly, as I just read, 30-year low. So it's an excuse. But again, Trump is that guy, as is very well looking. He's that guy that's going to forward the powers that be's agenda to regulate your freedoms and your rights, and so that they regulate you. Okay, that's what it's all about. Digital surveillance, where they're going to initiate that implantable device as mandatory, and if you don't take it, then you are a potential T. We may have to throw you in a concentration camp. That's where all of this is heading towards. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to play some stuff in this video of what these two are going to say, which these two make very good points that I want to speak on as well. And I'll play until like maybe 5 minutes and 30 seconds in. We'll see what happens. So let's begin without further ado.
The background, Matt, and I'm really happy that you're here and we can talk to you because your perspective is so important. So I grew up in the 50s and 60s as an anti-communist zealot. I swear to God, every day I was afraid, like a lot of people in my generation who still are afraid, that I would wake up and there would be foreign troops marching down the streets of American cities. And it would be because there was going to be an overthrow of the government, and the communists were going to install a dictator. I mean, a lot of people that I knew thought that this was going to happen right away, but people like me who were in the anti-communist movement and who were we consider ourselves in the know, knew that the commies were going to play this long game, that you couldn't do troops in the cities first. That was going to come last, that they were going to put their pieces in place first. And then by the time the troops were in the cities, the takeover would be complete. And it was kind of like the commies were going to play this game of chess, and they were going to position all of their pieces, and they were going to do it slowly and methodically, so slowly that most people would not notice. And then, checkmate. You know, they were going to do even like small things, like take books out of libraries, especially military libraries. They were going to take over the government slowly by election. And then they were going to turn the might of the federal government and all of its monies to put their enemies in prison, to silence the press, to keep their propaganda networks going, to fire all of the good people in government.
And that's what they're doing right now. So at the time, as she's explaining, she's thinking that as well as they brainwash the American people to believe that the communists are going to do all of these things, but meanwhile, the democratic society that they're in is doing it. You know? So, and what she said is, I want to just kind of I want to address that too. And that's what they're going to do. And this is why they want to get rid of freedom of speech. Because when you have freedom of speech, you have free will to press true news. And this is what you have right now. You have so many different news outlets. You have Alex Jones. You have Redacted. You have who else? You have so many voices out there that give truth. So what these devils want to do, they want to silence freedom of speech. They want to put the rest freedom of speech. Let me say that one and better. Just so that one narrative can be stated from them. And just to add as well, you have a message as George Soros. I was reading an article the other day how he wanted to buy as much radio stations as possible. So again, I wonder why that's going to be the case, because it's going to be just like how it was in World War II, where it concerned that same narrative going out over and over and over and over again. So when there's a psychological operation at Bing, you ain't going to look left to right for news. You're going to be looking head on, and you're going to be giving the news and what they tell you what's happening. That's all I wanted to say. So let's play some more of this.
and replace them with their stooges. So then, when all of that's put together, one day you wake up and there are troops in an American city. And you think, how did this happen? But this has been going on for decades.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, Donald Trump grew up in the same city at the same time that I did, and he knows what this is like. And when you put troops into a city, a couple of things happen. Number one, if you do it in a low-key kind of way and people don't react, because mostly people don't care about what doesn't impact them, and you get used to it. And you say, troops in American cities, it's not so bad. Nothing happened. And then you do it again, and you escalate it a little bit until finally you're in a situation where it's a powder keg, and all it takes is a match. And I mean, you see this over and over in history, right? You got soldiers on one side and citizens on another, and somebody fires a gun or a firecracker goes off,
right,
or somebody's just nervous and the shooting starts. Mm-hmm. And now you have exactly what you want, the pretext for martial law.
There it is, and that's what they're doing. So right now they're building to that point. And so let's just say we get to that pinnacle point, so-called, which would be a psychological operation. And then that would give power to the military to take control rather than government, being on the martial law conditions, as well as she said. So that's what the plan is. And this is something that we've been speaking about for years, beginning with the elder apostles, when it was laughed upon. Oh, the whole idea of you being tossed into a concentration camp, the whole idea of martial law being declared in the streets. That information right around the time of 2009, 2010 was being scoffed at. Now when we check it and we analyze what's going on with America and worldwide, we can clearly see that that's no longer far-fetched anymore, is it? It's nothing to laugh about, because it's clear to see now that the world is gradually turning towards that. And what is this going to show at the end? That we were the servants, the prophets all along.
So I'm really interested in your perspective as a Marine. What do you think of that? You think I'm way off base here?
Oh, no. It's the frog in the pot analogy. You slowly raise the temperature of that water so they don't realize they're being boiled alive. And the water is rolling at a rolling boil right now, and right, we're still sitting in the pot. The agenda is to continue to slowly raise the temperature of the water by systematically introducing the population of the United States to this idea that it's not a big deal.
Right.
It's not a big deal. I mean, look, LA was a thing. We sent active duty Marines to LA. It's not a big deal. We've got the National Guard in D.C. and the federal, law enforcement, ATF, and the Metro Police all working under not a big deal. It's not really going to affect you. You don't live in D.C. Right. They're not even a state, Everybody should be concerned about what they're seeing in D.C.
And just to mention as well, DJ Trump even threatened Chicago that he was going to federalize the police over there. So you already know they want to lock America down. This is their ultimate agenda, is to lock America down with surveillance. If they can get away with it in DC, if they can do it in Chicago, there's other places that they can do it in as well. All right. And that's just the thing, because this man is going to bring a thing such as Jacob Strubble. All right. And I've watched another video like this one as well. And these two individuals, I forgot their names, but they also speak about how that whole situation that Trump caused in DC to federalizing the police, saying that it was a war against the poor. All right. And that's who he was talking about when he gave that speech. Who the fuck was he talking about? He wasn't talking about well-off, good old white Americans that was living in the suburbs. He was talking about those that live in the slums, those that live in the ghetto. He's talking about Jake. All right. And the thing with DJ Trump has always been a racist, but he always showed himself to not be a racist. You know, you've seen him on this show that he used to go on called Apprentice. You had black folks that was on that show. You had Omarosa, that bitch, she was on there. You had Lennox Lewis, he was on that show. You had a plethora of people that went on that show, different nationalities, you know? So Trump looks like a people's man. He's for the people. He's for the American people, no matter what race you are. He even had Omarosa with him on his first, incoming into office. So now, DJ Trump in his second administration, he's going to show the truth. He's going to show that he's just as demonic as those putting money in his pocket. All right? That's what he's going to show. So with all of that, which was said in this video, I want to tie it with this article as well. As this reads, Trump's martial law playbook is normalizing a permanent police state. Every American should be alarmed by the accelerated descent into a police state that President Trump's administration is leading. By federalizing the National Guard in cities across the nation, the administration federal power under the guise of restoring order, the Trump administration is dismantling our constitutional republic one city at a time. Absolutely. In April of 2025, President Trump signed an executive order authorizing mass roundups of violent criminals and gang members, powering federal agencies and military support for domestic law enforcement. By June, armed federal agents and the National Guard were deployed to California to quell protests over immigration arrests. By August, they were in Washington, D.C., clearing homeless encampments because the president declared the city dirty and dangerous. Right. So if the city is dirty and dangerous because of how they see Jake, what do you think they're going to treat Jake as? They're going to treat Jake as dangerous citizens, tease, and throw Jake in the concentration camps. All right. And although, as I've read to you, it's a 30-year low of crime, yet the excuse from Trump's mouth was, oh, the city of Washington, D.C. is dangerous and it's full of dirty slums, and however he said it when he gave his speech. So now the attitude is going to be geared towards coming up against our people in a wrathful state of mind. All right. In the state of being. Let me use that word instead. Revelations 12:12, and as well as the one that I'm going to read next. The administration playbook is relentless cycle, identifying a threat, stoke fears, and expands executive power, all carefully timed to avoid widespread public backlash. This strategy has already paved the way for a new tier of domestic militarization. What began as a war on crime swiftly expanded to include the homeless, and now threatens to encompass protests, journalists, anyone who deemed a nuisance. Just like back in the 1990s, you had things such as the war on drugs. That was just a term. You got to read between the lines. That was a war on Jake. Because back in the early 90s, I would say, well, it actually started in the early to mid 80s. You had what was called the drug epidemic, which the CIA was involved in that, which that all came out that the CIA planted these drugs, these drugs in our communities. And so while people got taking the drugs on board, either taking the drugs or selling the drugs, so that the city can be fucking a crime-ridden, infested dump where people are strung out on drugs and all that stuff, and people getting arrested. And then in the 90s, they coined it as the war on drugs, which was a plot against our people. All right, that's why Slick Willie back in 1994 he passed that crime bill, which he was the senator at the time. I think it was Joe Biden. Yeah, Joe Biden. He was down with that crime bill, and I think he might have passed it in like 95 or something like that. So they passed that bill. And a lot of Jakes got arrested off of that, man. A lot of Jakes was sent to jail that didn't need to go to jail because they didn't commit no crimes. Okay? The stop and frisk. So anyway, where was I? Yeah, so this strategy has already paved the way for a new tier of domestic militarization. What began as a war on crime swiftly expanded to include the homeless and now threatens to encompass protest journalists or anyone deemed a nuisance. This is not about political posturing. It is a direct assault on the Constitution. The Posse Comitatus Act, which bans the military domestic policing role, is being ignored and courts have yet to intervene. This dangerous trend is being normalized, blending into the permanent state of crises that now defines our national security policies. Trump's Liberation Day tactics involves federalizing the National Guard, another federal force to quell perceived threats. These actions have expanded executive power, sidestepping the Constitution. What began as a target response to crime is now a sweeping tool for federal control. Martial law being normalized with little public resistance. This trend will likely continue under future administrations regardless of the party, right? And I believe that DJ Trump, as well as it was said that he is the last president, that he's going to be the only one to get the ball rolling, so to speak, where it concerns martial law being declared, all right? And when we're talking about the Posse Comitatus Act, which I haven't heard that in a while, which of course is in the Constitution, these politicians, man, they don't give a shit about the Constitution. Now, going back to what President Bush said, and of course nowadays you got these fact checkers that are fact checking that, oh yeah, did he really say that? Yes, he did say that. Back in 2005, this is what President Bush said. All right? This is how they really feel about the Constitution. Stop throwing that Constitution in my face. It's just a goddamn piece of paper. That's what he said. And this was at a time when he was discussing how to renew the Patriot Act. So if that's the sentiment of the former president at the time, then how much more the presidents which came after him and the one that is currently in office now? They don't give a shit about that constitutional stuff. All right? So now I want to read this as well. 2nd Ezra 16, and I'm going to begin by reading verse, 68. 2nd Ezra 16 and 68. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let's begin by reading 67. Behold, the Most High himself is the judge. Fear him and leave off from your sins, and forget your iniquities to meddle no more with them forever. So shall the Most High lead you forth and deliver you from all trouble. For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols, and that is that implantable device. And they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and in reproach and trodden underfoot. For there shall be in every place in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord, and they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. That's Revelations 12 and 12 that you could tie in with both of these verses here, 70 and verse 71, 72 now. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their house. And I remember when I was in the States, and what you brothers would call here in the UK secondary school, we call it high school over there. We had a substitute teacher, and he brought this truth out, and he said that the government can one day confiscate all that you have, all that you own, because they believe that all of your stuff belongs to them. All right. Now, I'm not saying word for word because it was years ago. Okay, I'm in my mid-30s, man. So back when he said it, it was a long time ago. But I remember he brought that out. All right, because that's what they're gonna do. When these devils come down against our people and against even just the average white American, they're gonna confiscate everything that you got. Everything that they have is gonna be taken away from them. Even those that claim to want to store food, and prepared for the troublous times that's going to be bound in America, guess what? All of that is going to be confiscated. They're going to find where you're at, where your shit is at, and that's all going to be confiscated. So as this reads, for they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses, and then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Hear, O ye my beloved, save the Lord. Behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. That's Daniel 12 and verse 1. And also, if I'm correct, Jacob's trouble. I think that's what Isaiah 30 and verse 7. And so we're going to be delivered in that time. And so as this reads, be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for the Most High is your guide, and the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts, save the Lord power. Let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift up themselves. Woe be unto them that are bound with their sins and covered with their iniquities, like as a field is covered over the bushes, and the path thereof covered with the thorns, that no man may travel through. All right. So all the way back to verse 67, it says, for behold, the Most High himself is the judge. So in the time of trouble which is being prepared, the Lord is preparing all of this to judge those that are bound in their sins. All right. This evil time is for them, not for the elect. Now the elect are going to be tried. That's about it. But the rest are going to fall victim to this destruction. Okay. Because of their sins. They didn't want to repent. So if you have this truth, man, take it seriously. Don't look at this thing for entertainment purposes, man. Whoever you are out there. Because the day is going to come where everything that we've said is gonna come to an head. And then you're going to consider in being in regrets, thinking to yourself, man, I should have just taken heed. I should have listened. Them guys were right on what they were saying, man. All right. So that's all I got to say with this. With that, I want to give all of the praise and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash, and Yahweh Bashmiel Shai Brakathum, from the head of us to the least of us, as we believe that we are of the 144,000, and as well as the 1/3 whom this gospel is for. Shalom.